The hallway of St. Mary's Medical Center, Chicago, smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee. It was almost 6 a.m., but the hospital never slept. Neither did I, not since the accident. I stood outside ICU room 307, staring at the frosted glass like it was a courtroom door deciding my fate. My phone buzzed in my pocket again, missed calls from my mother, texts from my sister, work emails piling up. But I ignored everything. Nothing mattered except what was behind that door. Emily Carter. My fiancée. The woman I was supposed to marry in 4 months. The doctor's words kept replaying in my head like a broken recording. She survived the crash. Physically, she's stable. But there's a possibility of retrograde amnesia. Amnesia. A word I'd only heard in movies. A word that wasn't supposed to walk into my real life. 3 years. 3 years of memories, road trips, late-night arguments, shared apartments, shared bank accounts, shared dreams. 3 years of planning a future that suddenly felt like it belonged to someone else. The automatic door slid open with a soft hiss. A nurse nodded at me. "You can go in now," she said gently. "Just take it slow." I swallowed hard and stepped inside. The room was dim, lit mostly by the glow of heart monitors and 4 pumps. Emily lay on the bed, her dark brown hair spread messily over the pillow, a white bandage wrapped around her head. Her face was pale, almost fragile. She looked smaller than I remembered. For a moment, I couldn't move. This was the woman who used to steal fries from my plate, even when she ordered her own. The woman who laughed too loud in movie theaters. The woman who said, "We'll figure it out together," every time life got hard. I pulled a chair closer and sat beside her, my hands shaking. "Hey," I whispered. "It's me." Her eyelids fluttered. My heart jumped. Slowly, her eyes opened. They were glassy, unfocused, drifting around the room. Machines. Ceiling. Window. Then me. For a second, I thought I saw recognition. Then her eyebrows furrowed. She looked scared. Who are you?" she asked. The words hit me harder than any punch ever could. I forced a smile, convincing myself this was temporary. A joke. A nightmare I'd wake up from. "It's okay," I said softly. "I'm Daniel, your fiancé." She stared at me like I'd just spoken another language. "My what? Fiancé?" The word echoed in my head as if someone had shouted it in an empty room. I reached for her hand instinctively. The same hand I'd held when I proposed to her at Navy Pier, with the Chicago skyline glowing behind us. She pulled her hand back. "I don't know you," she said, her voice trembling. "Why are you touching me?" The nurse stepped in quickly, placing a calming hand on her shoulder. "Emily, it's okay. You were in an accident. This man is someone close to you." Emily shook her head slowly, panic creeping into her eyes. "No," she said. "I'd remember him. I remember other things. Just not him. Other things." That was the part that confused me the most. She remembered her parents. Her job at the marketing firm. Her college years in California. Her favorite songs. Her dog's name. Her childhood home. She just didn't remember me. The doctor later called it selective memory loss. I called it hell. Over the next few days, I stayed by her side constantly. I brought flowers. I showed her photos of us, smiling on beaches, hugging in winter coats, kissing on New Year's Eve. She looked at those photos like they belonged to strangers. "That doesn't feel like me," she said once, handing my phone back. "I don't feel connected." I told myself not to take it personally. The doctors said memory could return slowly. I believed them because I had no other choice. But something felt off. One afternoon, while I stepped out to grab coffee from the hospital cafe, I overheard 2 nurses whispering near the counter. "Her ex visited again last night," one said. "Ex?" the other replied. "I thought she had a fiancé." My grip tightened around the coffee cup. "Apparently, she remembers the ex perfectly," the nurse continued. "Name's Ryan. Flew in from New York the moment he heard about the accident." The coffee slipped slightly in my hand. Ryan. The name rang a bell I didn't want to hear. Ryan Miller. Her college boyfriend. The one she once told me was ancient history. That night, I asked her directly, "Do you remember someone named Ryan?" I tried to sound casual, but my voice betrayed me. Her face softened instantly. "Yes," she said without hesitation. "Of course I do." My chest tightened. "Who is he to you?" I asked. She looked almost embarrassed. "He was someone important," she said. "He's been really supportive. Stayed with me when I woke up scared." Supportive. I nodded slowly, pretending my heart wasn't cracking open. I didn't tell her that Ryan was the same guy who broke her heart years ago. The same guy who disappeared when life got difficult. The same guy she cried over during the first month we dated. Instead, I smiled. Days turned into weeks. Emily got better physically. Emotionally, she drifted further away from me. She started asking for Ryan more than she asked for me. When she was discharged, she didn't want to move back into our apartment. "I don't feel safe living with someone I don't remember," she said, avoiding my eyes. She moved in with her parents instead. I told myself to be patient. Then one evening, as I was packing some of her clothes to drop off, I found something that made my blood run cold. A medical report. Second opinion. Different neurologist. Different hospital. Diagnosis. No signs of memory impairment related to emotional recognition. In simple words, she wasn't supposed to forget only me. That was the moment a dangerous thought entered my mind. What if she wasn't pretending to forget? What if she was choosing who to remember? I folded the report carefully and put it back where I found it. I didn't confront her. Not yet, because if Emily had erased me from her life on purpose, I needed proof. And if she thought forgetting me was her escape, she had no idea what kind of ending I was planning. The first night Emily spent back at her parents' house, I sat alone in our apartment, staring at the empty side of the bed. Her pillow still smelled like her shampoo, lavender, and something sweet I could never name. I should have felt relieved that she was safe. Instead, I felt like a guest in my own life, quietly replaced while I was still standing in the room. I opened my laptop and stared at the medical report again. No neurological damage affecting emotional recognition. I wasn't a doctor, but I wasn't stupid either. People didn't forget only one person unless they wanted to. I closed the laptop and leaned back, letting the memories play in my head. The way Emily used to cling to me during thunderstorms, the way she cried when we talked about having kids someday. Those memories felt real. Too real to be erased by an accident. So why was I the only one missing? The next morning, I drove to her parents' house in Evanston, a quiet suburb just north of Chicago. Neat lawns, American flags on porches, the kind of neighborhood where nothing ugly was supposed to happen. Emily's mother, Susan, opened the door. Her eyes looked tired. "Daniel," she said softly. "She's in the backyard." I nodded and stepped inside. Emily was sitting on the patio, wrapped in a light sweater, a mug of tea in her hands. She looked peaceful. Too peaceful. Ryan was sitting across from her, laughing. My jaw tightened, but I forced myself to walk over calmly. "Hey," I said. Ryan looked up first. His smile faded for a split second, just long enough for me to catch it, then returned. "Daniel," he said. "Good to see you, man. Man, like we were friends." Emily looked at me, confused but polite, the way you look at a stranger you don't want to offend. "Oh," she said. "Hi. Hi." That was it. No warmth. No familiarity. No history. I sat down anyway. "I brought some of your things," I said, placing a small bag near her chair. "Your sketchbook. You love drawing before bed." She glanced at the bag but didn't open it. "I'm not really into drawing anymore," she said lightly. Ryan chuckled. "Yeah, you were always more into writing, Em. Remember those poems you used to send me in college?" She smiled at him. "I remember that," she said. The word remember felt like a knife sliding slowly into my chest. I watched them carefully. The way she leaned toward him. The way her voice softened when she spoke to him. The way she didn't hesitate with him the way she did with me. That night, I didn't sleep. I went through old messages, emails, photos, every digital trace of our relationship. Nothing looked fake. Nothing felt imagined. So I decided to test something. A few days later, I asked Emily if she'd meet me alone. No parents, no Ryan, just coffee. She hesitated but agreed. We met at a small cafe near Lake Michigan, a place we used to love. The barista still recognized us. "Same order as usual?" she asked Emily. Emily blinked. "I don't know what that is." The barista looked embarrassed. I ordered instead. We sat in silence for a moment. "I'm not here to pressure you," I said finally. "I just want to understand." Emily stared at her cup. "I'm trying," she said. "But when I look at you, there's nothing. No feelings. No memories. Just blank." "And Ryan?" I asked quietly. Her eyes flickered. "With him, it's different," she admitted. "It feels familiar. Safe. Safe." I nodded slowly. "Emily," I said, "do you remember why you and Ryan broke up?" She frowned. "He moved away. Life got complicated." That wasn't the truth. He cheated. Left her when she needed him most. She told me that herself, through tears. But she didn't remember that. Or she chose not to. That evening, I made a decision. If Emily's memory was selective, then I needed to select my next moves carefully too. I started watching. Ryan's visits became more frequent. Late nights. Long drives. Closed doors. I didn't accuse. I observed. One night, I sat in my car across the street from her parents' house, my phone in my hand, pretending to scroll while my eyes stayed glued to the front door. At 11:47 p.m., Ryan left. He leaned in and kissed her. She didn't pull away. That was the moment hope officially died. But something else was born in its place. Clarity. The next day, I visited the neurologist whose report I'd found. I didn't mention Emily's name directly. I just asked questions. Can trauma cause someone to forget one specific person but remember an ex? I asked. The doctor paused. In rare cases, he said carefully. But usually there's an emotional motivation involved. The brain protects what it wants to keep. Protects. I thanked him and walked out with my answer. That night, Emily called me for the first time in weeks. I've been thinking, she said. About us. My heart still betrayed me by speeding up. I don't think we should be engaged anymore, she continued. It's not fair to either of us. There it was. Clean. Simple. Convenient. I understand, I said calmly. I want you to be happy. She sounded relieved. Thank you for being mature about this. After the call ended, I stared at the dark reflection in my window. Mature. She thought this was the end. She didn't know it was the beginning. Because if Emily wanted a future with Ryan, if she wanted to rewrite her past and erase me, then I would give her a celebration worthy of her new life. A party. An engagement party. One she would never forget. The day after Emily called off our engagement, I woke up calmer than I had in weeks. That scared me. Anger I could understand. Pain too. But calm. Calm meant something inside me had settled into place. And it wasn't forgiveness. I stood in the shower, letting hot water hit my face, replaying her words again and again. I don't think we should be engaged anymore. No apology. No confusion. Just a clean erasure. By the time I left the apartment, I knew one thing for sure. If Emily had erased me on purpose, then somewhere along the way, she'd made a mistake. People always do. I started with the basics. Shared accounts. Shared calendars. Shared cloud storage. She'd changed most of the passwords after moving to her parents' house, but not all of them. People in a hurry forget small things. One of those things was an old Google Drive folder linked to her college email, the same one she used when we first started dating. Inside were years of files, photos, drafts, voice notes, and something labeled simply, Neurology Personal. My pulse quickened as I clicked it. Inside were appointment summaries, PDFs, and audio recordings from therapy sessions. Sessions I didn't even know she'd continued after her accident. One recording caught my attention. Date, 2 weeks after the crash. Dr. Helen Morris. I pressed play. Emily's voice filled the room. Clear. Steady. Fully aware. I don't want to remember Daniel, she said. My fingers tightened around the mouse. Every time I think about marrying him, I feel trapped. Ryan coming back made me realize what I really want. There was a pause. Is it possible for trauma to help me move on? Like selectively? Dr. Morris sighed. Trauma can reinforce emotional avoidance, she said carefully. But pretending you don't remember someone is different from actual amnesia. Emily laughed softly. Pretending might be easier. I stopped the recording. The room felt suddenly very quiet. No confusion. No accident-caused miracle. No tragic memory loss. Just a choice. She chose to forget me. And the worst part, she chose to use a medical lie to do it. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen. This wasn't heartbreak anymore. This was betrayal with paperwork. But I didn't rage. I didn't call her. I didn't confront anyone. Because proof loses its power when you reveal it too soon. Instead, I made copies. Encrypted ones. Stored in places no one else could access. Then I moved to the next phase. Ryan Miller. I didn't stalk him. I researched him. LinkedIn told me he worked in real estate development, bouncing between New York and Chicago. Instagram showed a carefully curated life, gym selfies, expensive dinners, motivational quotes about second chances. Facebook was quieter. That's where I found it. A post from 6 months ago. Finally closing the chapter with Emily. Some people are better left in the past. 6 months ago. That was before the accident. Before the so-called amnesia. meaning Ryan had already re-entered her life. Meaning this wasn't spontaneous. It was planned. I requested a day off from work and drove to a small cafe downtown, neutral territory. Somewhere Emily would feel comfortable. I texted her casually. Hey, I found some old documents related to our insurance claim. Thought we should go over them together. She replied almost instantly. Okay, Ryan can come too if that's fine. Ryan. Always Ryan. Sure, I typed. The more the merrier. They arrived together. Matching smiles. Shared glances. The body language of a couple pretending not to be one yet. I kept my expression neutral. We ordered drinks and sat down. I won't take much of your time, I said. I just wanted clarity. Emily nodded. I appreciate that. I slid a folder across the table. Medical stuff, I said lightly. Doctor's notes. Recovery timelines. Ryan leaned forward, interested. Emily flipped through the pages. Her hands stopped. Just for a second. Then she continued. What's this? She asked. Oh, I said casually. That's from Dr. Morris. Your therapy sessions. Ryan frowned. Therapy. Emily shot him a look. It's nothing. I watched her closely. Emily, I said, lowering my voice. Do you still believe you have amnesia? She hesitated. I placed my phone on the table and pressed play. Her voice echoed softly between us. I don't want to remember Daniel. Color drained from her face. Ryan stared at her. What the hell is this? He asked. She reached for the phone, but I pulled it back. I made copies, I said calmly. So please don't panic. Ryan stood up slightly. You lied to me. She grabbed his arm. It's not what you think. I raised a hand. Relax. I didn't bring this to expose you. They both looked at me. I brought this, I continued, to make something very clear. I leaned in. You erased me. You manipulated a medical condition. And you used both of us to rewrite your life. Silence hung heavy. Ryan finally spoke. So what do you want? I smiled. Nothing, I said. I already lost you. And I already lost her. Emily looked confused. Then why are you here? She asked. I stood up, buttoning my jacket. Because, I said calmly, I just wanted to see how good you both are at pretending. I walked away before either of them could stop me. That night, my phone buzzed endlessly. Emily calling. Ryan texting. Voicemails piling up. I ignored all of it. Instead, I opened my laptop and began drafting something new. A guest list. A venue inquiry. A catering estimate. Title at the top of the document. Emily and Ryan, engagement celebration. If they wanted to announce their love. If they wanted a fresh start built on lies. Then I would give them a stage. Bright lights. Smiling faces. Friends. Family. And one moment where the truth would finally speak louder than memory. The venue manager thought I was crazy. Not in the obvious way, more in the polite, professional way people get when they don't ask questions because the money clears. Are you sure you want the full package? She asked, scrolling through options on her tablet. Live band, video montage, custom lighting. It's usually the couple who. I'm sure, I said. I want it perfect. And I meant that. Because perfection makes lies easier to display. I booked the glass room, a high-end event space overlooking the Chicago River. Floor-to-ceiling windows. White marble floors. Soft golden lighting that made everyone look happier than they deserved. The guest list was long. Emily's parents. My parents. Our mutual friends. Her co-workers. Ryan's business partners. Everyone who believed in their story. Everyone who once believed in mine. I didn't hide anything. I used my name on every invoice. When vendors asked about the couple, I smiled and said, they're going through a lot. I'm helping. Helping. It was the truth, just not the kind they expected. Emily called me 3 days after the cafe incident. Her voice was shaky. Why are you doing this? She asked. Doing what? I replied calmly. This party, she said. People are saying you're planning it. I paused, pretending to think. Oh, that, I said. It felt wrong not to celebrate. You're starting a new life. Silence. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. I know, I replied. I want to. She didn't argue after that. Because arguing would mean acknowledging guilt. Ryan, on the other hand, was less subtle. He showed up at my apartment unannounced. You're enjoying this, he accused, pacing my living room. Making us uncomfortable. I'm enjoying closure, I corrected. There's a difference. You can't humiliate us in front of everyone, he snapped. I looked at him steadily. I'm not humiliating anyone, I said. I'm hosting a party. He laughed bitterly. You think you're in control. I didn't answer. Control is something you demonstrate, not explain. The closer the party got, the more cracks began to show. Emily stopped posting happy photos. Ryan started drinking more. Their friends asked questions. And I watched. Quietly. Carefully. Like someone arranging dominoes. 2 nights before the engagement party, I invited Emily to the venue. I want your approval, I said. It's your night. She arrived wearing a simple coat, her hair pulled back, eyes tired. She walked slowly through the space. It's beautiful, she said, her voice distant. You once told me you wanted something elegant. Not loud. Not flashy, I said. She froze. I don't remember saying that. I do, I replied. For a moment, something flickered across her face. Regret. Fear. Maybe memory. She turned toward me. Daniel, are you going to hurt us? The question surprised me. No, I said honestly. I'm going to let you hurt yourselves. She looked away. That night, I finalized the last detail. The video. A love story montage, as the event planner called it. Photos. Clips. Text overlays. I included everything. Emily and Ryan's college photos. Their old messages. Their reunion timeline. And at the end, the audio file. Her voice. Clear. Unmistakable. Pretending might be easier. I didn't label it. I didn't explain it. I just placed it there. Because truth doesn't need commentary. The day of the party arrived. Chicago glowed under a soft summer sunset. Guests arrived dressed in elegance, champagne flowing freely. The band played something light and romantic. Laughter filled the room. Emily and Ryan arrived together. She looked stunning. He looked confident. They smiled for photos. They thanked guests. They pretended. I stood near the back, unnoticed. Perfect. Halfway through the evening, the event planner approached me. Ready for the video? She asked. I nodded. The lights dimmed. The screen lit up. Music began softly. Photos of Emily and Ryan filled the screen. Young love, old smiles, second chances. Guests clapped. Emily smiled nervously. Then the music faded. The screen went black. Her voice filled the room. I don't want to remember Daniel. Silence. People shifted uncomfortably. Ryan's smile disappeared. The next clip played. Pretending might be easier. Gasps. Whispers. Emily stood frozen. The lights came back on. I stepped forward. This, I said calmly, my voice carrying through the room, is what selective memory looks like. Emily turned toward me, tears in her eyes. You promised, she whispered. I promised you a celebration, I said. Not protection. Ryan grabbed her hand. We're leaving. They pushed through the crowd as whispers turned into judgment. I didn't stop them. I watched. Because endings don't always need confrontation. Sometimes they just need witnesses. As the room slowly filled with uneasy conversation, my phone buzzed. A text from Emily. You ruined everything. I stared at the message. Then I typed back. No. I remembered everything. The glass room emptied faster than I expected. Not because people were angry. Because they were uncomfortable. Truth has that effect. One by one, guests made excuses. Phones buzzed. Eyes avoided mine. The champagne glasses remained half full, abandoned like conversations no one wanted to finish. The band stopped playing. The city lights outside reflected against the empty dance floor, cold and indifferent. I stood alone in the middle of it all, listening to the echo of footsteps fade. I thought I would feel victorious. Instead, I felt quiet. By midnight, my phone was burning. Missed calls from Emily. Texts from Ryan. Voicemails from numbers I didn't recognize. I didn't respond. Not yet. I went home, took off my jacket, and sat on the edge of the bed I hadn't shared in weeks. The silence there felt familiar. Comforting, almost. The next morning, the fallout began. Emily's mother called first. How could you do this to her? Susan cried. She's sick, Daniel. I stayed calm. She wasn't sick, I said. She was lying. You don't know that. I do, I replied softly. And so does she. Susan hung up. An hour later, my boss called. Daniel, he said carefully, there's something going around online. I opened my laptop. A short clip from the party had already made it to social media. Someone had recorded the moment Emily's voice played. The caption read, Man exposes fiancé's fake amnesia at engagement party. The comments were brutal. Some called me a hero. Others called me cruel. Most just watched. That night, a stranger sent me a message. If she lied once, she'll lie again. You saved yourself. I didn't reply. Ryan showed up again. This time, he didn't knock. He pounded. When I opened the door, his eyes were red. His hands shook. You destroyed her, he shouted. No, I said calmly. I showed you who she really is. He laughed bitterly. You think you're innocent? You manipulated everything. I stepped aside and let him in. You're right, I said. I did. That caught him off guard. I manipulated timing. Lighting. A screen, I continued. I didn't manipulate the truth. He sank onto the couch. She's spiraling, he said quietly. Doctors. Lawyers. Everyone's telling her different things. Good, I said. He looked up sharply. Good. Because lies collapse when pressure is applied, I replied. Ryan stood suddenly. You're sick. I nodded. So was pretending to forget a fiancé. He left without another word. That afternoon, a lawyer called. Mr. Harris, she said, I represent Emily Carter. She's considering legal action for emotional distress and defamation. I smiled slightly. Then you should listen to the recordings, I said. All of them. Silence. I'll email them, I added. The lawyer never called back. Days passed. Emily disappeared from social media. Ryan canceled his business trip. Mutual friends picked sides, or stayed silent. I stayed still. That was the hardest part. Not reacting. Not explaining. Letting the world do what it always does, move on. A week later, Emily came to my apartment alone. No makeup. No confidence. Just exhaustion. I didn't think you'd go that far, she said. I didn't think you'd erase me, I replied. She sat down slowly. I was scared, she said. Marrying you felt final. With Ryan, it felt familiar. Familiar pain, I said. She flinched. You don't understand, she whispered. I do, I replied. You wanted comfort without accountability. Tears rolled down her face. I lost everything, she said. I looked at her. No, I said gently. You lost control. She looked up. I loved you, she said. I shook my head. You loved the version of me that made your life easier, I replied. Not me. She stood up. So that's it, she asked. That was at the moment you chose to forget me, I said. She left quietly. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Not because I was happy, but because I was free. Yet something still lingered. A sense that the story wasn't done. Because lies don't disappear. They transform. And somewhere between exposure and collapse, they try to survive. I felt it. A final move was coming. I just didn't know from whom. 3 months passed. Not dramatically. Quietly. That's how real endings happen. The internet found something new to obsess over. The clip from the engagement party disappeared under fresh scandals, fresh outrage, fresh lies. People moved on. I did too. Or at least I thought I had. I switched apartments. A smaller place near Logan Square, away from memories that no longer belonged to me. I started running again. Early mornings, cold air, empty streets. Movement helped. Silence helped. Emily stayed away. No messages. No calls. No apologies disguised as closure. Until one morning, when my phone rang from an unknown number. Daniel, a familiar voice said. Emily. I closed my eyes. I'm listening, I said. I'm at St. Joseph's Hospital, she said quietly. I need to talk to you. Just once. Every instinct told me to say no. But some chapters only close when you read the last line. She was sitting in the waiting area when I arrived. No dramatic entrance. No tears. Just a woman who looked older than she should. She held a folder in her lap. I'm not here to fix anything, she said before I could speak. I know that's gone. I nodded. They ran more tests, she continued. Second opinions. Independent reviews. She slid the folder toward me. Final diagnosis. No clinical amnesia. Psychological avoidance disorder. In simpler terms, she never forgot. She avoided. I convinced myself it was survival, she said. But it was cowardice. I didn't respond. I lost Ryan, she added. He couldn't trust me after that night. Funny, right? I looked at her. Lies don't age well, I said. She smiled faintly. I remember everything now, she said. Every detail. The proposal. The fights. The nights you stayed awake when I was anxious. Her voice cracked. And I remember the moment I decided to forget you. That was the most honest thing she'd ever said. Why? I asked. She looked down. Because loving you meant choosing a life I was afraid of, she whispered. And forgetting you felt easier than admitting that fear. I stood up. That's the one thing you couldn't forget, I said. Your fear. She nodded. I don't want forgiveness, she said quickly. I just didn't want you to think you were disposable. I paused at the door. You weren't honest enough to forget me, I said. And I'm not broken enough to remember you. She closed her eyes. That was goodbye. 6 months later, I received an invitation. Not from Emily. From her mother. A simple card. Emily is moving to Seattle. Starting over. Thought you should know. I placed it in a drawer and forgot about it. Some things don't need closure. A year passed. I stood on a rooftop in Chicago, watching the city lights flicker below. A friend handed me a drink. You ever regret it? He asked. The party. The exposure. All of it. I thought about it. I regret trusting someone who was afraid of themselves, I said. Not the truth. He nodded. That night, as I scrolled through my phone, I found an old voicemail. Emily's voice. From years ago. Promise me you'll never disappear on me. I deleted it. Not angrily. Not dramatically. Just intentionally. Because forgetting someone who erased you isn't cruelty. It's recovery. Some people fake amnesia to escape a life they're too scared to live. Others survive by remembering one thing clearly. You don't need revenge to win. You just need to walk away with your memory intact. The end.